Kenyans, again, we are divided into two. Always, all the time. Right now, there is nothing going on in the current government because they are all on the same side. They're all not doing anyone.
On this episode, we are vibing with one of my favorite political analysts, Don Anaclet, and you're about to find out why.
Kibaki was not playing politics, so he never shifted people's opinion. People just concentrated on Kibaki's work until the elections arrived, and Kibaki realized that, I ought to have also been playing some politics, and that led us to where we were in 2007.
This conversation has mostly been inspired by the conversation of the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Two warring dogs often become allies whenever the wolf appears.
Two warring dogs always become allies
whenever the wolf appears. I wish you now know why there is a wolf on the chopping board.
The beauty about having political conversations with Don is because you can see objectivity.
I think he's a good man, he's brave. I like his brand of politics. I just don't agree with the fact that he lacks that ethical conviction. Because the president seems so obsessed with the things Kenyans don't want.
Alafu, something has been bothering me, especially after what happened to Morara Kebaso at Bomas. Can you separate Kenyan politics from violence or violence from Kenyan politics?
Again, I'm coming back to tell you that Morara Kebaso would have known and should know that he has enemies.
Okay, tell us, because you are an operator, unajua. How do goons work?
Call them wise men for lack of...
Wise men is a polite name for goons.
I want to break it down for you. One.
And by the objectively, can Morara Kebaso be president in 2027?
Majority of Kenyans lack the ethical conviction to do the right thing.
You don't see a situation where he just becomes president. And if that happens, how much change do you think that affects?
I don't know if I need to lie to you or tell you the truth.
Our conversation is happening at Wojo Africa, a premium co-working space in Upper Hill, Nairobi. You're looking for an office for your business. You're looking for a place you can hold your meetings bila hassle ya ku set up a space nini, an office on need basis. You need premium meeting areas, chill base where you can do your work, productivity maximum, bottomless coffee, like anything associated with an office. You need to check out Wojo, especially when you are looking for very competitive rates, classy packages, and very flexible arrangements. In fact, you have a meeting, you want to walk in, they have a package for you. Consider yourself plugged.
I'm your host, Dr. Kingori, and here's another reason to stay subscribed to our channel. Kama hauja subscribe, now's a good time to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications bell. Alafu please, changamka, you can like and share our content so the good vibes can reach as many people as possible. Sometimes you say things, and I hope utafunguka tu vile unafungukanga. Be you. There's two groups of in politics. I'm interested in that statement. The people who enemies and
Are we on air?
Yes, we are on air.
Okay. I wanted to bring this later part of this discussion. Because you brought it up.
You can start.
I want to help me address something that is very key and very critical in the society today.
Yes.
In politics, there are two groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
For a smart politician, and actually almost all. There is the people you can use, and then there are enemies. You get me? And I want to give you a very good example. Mombasa. You know, right now that there's a big issue with that has touched on the governor, has touched on human rights with regards to Bruce,
mm-hmm.
and with the office of the women rep.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I say that there are two groups of people? The two officers that I've touched will verify that all they need, and that is what every other politician on the side today does, They look at you. How useful are you? If you are not useful, you are an enemy. If you are useful, they are not going to use you for the right reason. They're just going to use you to as an end to certain means.
That statement, before you go into Mombasa, that statement makes sense on the level, Rigiji in his press conference,
Yes.
in response to the impeachment motion, says that the powers that be feels like he's a spent cartridge. He was used for elections. Now, kazi yake imeisha. He was supposed to be used to fight Uhuru Kenyatta. Does that fit in context?
It does fit in the context slightly, not 100%, especially for Rigiji. On the natural context, it does. But when you customize it down to Rigiji, it doesn't fit 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Rigiji feels that, and that is from his prayer, he feels that he's been betrayed. And yes, the majority of his people would also feel the same. However, immediately after the election and over the past couple of months, I tend to feel Rigiji has done a lot more harm to himself than the people that he thinks are pushing him. Much of how I view it is that he's taken, and I don't know if these guys had set him up. I think they did. He went around creating a barrier between the people who are now the majority versus the government that he himself plus the president, of course, created. My view would have been that immediately the elections were over, the next thing that was going to happen, and that is what any other society should do, that it should run around galvanizing the country and bringing everyone together and not simply dividing them along certain lines of who supported who or who did not. Okay? That was one aspect. Again, and I want to pass this message very strongly. I really believe that our listeners will also see it from this end. There's the current view running around that Rigiji or the deputy president is being isolated, or that it is a story of the mountain. Maybe their guy is being victimized and all that. But I tend to think that the grounds for his removal would be ground for removal of anybody, regardless of whether you're from the mountain or from the lake or from where.
Which grounds?
They were just read.
Which one comes to mind? Which one pops up in your mind?
To begin with, what pops into my mind immediately would be the issue to do with corruption, because that is what is ailing our society today.
So, let's be honest, or we can't be honest when we discuss politics. Can we be honest? You can't accuse Rigiji of corruption and not accuse everybody else in government.
No, me I do. I'm accusing everybody else. I'm just saying, if there is a blanket belief that everyone is a thief, okay?
Yes.
And we catch you today, we're just going to start by dealing with you. Then you're going to produce everyone else. Right now, what I would have anticipated him to do was that he was going to tell us that, hey, you know what, guys? Well, you are accusing me of amassing this and this or stealing this and that. But so and so, I have evidence, A, B, C, D, that you were stole. Then we now get all of the thieves together, prosecute them, kick them out of office, and all that. But when there is a blanket belief that there were 20 thieves, but we only caught you once at the moment, we'll just deal with you. That's what they...
No. I will fault that theory. If you assume, so are you saying that if we pinpointed anyone else in government, we could have grounds to chuck them out of office?
True.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
So are we saying that the fight, are you admitting that the fight against corruption, we have accepted that it is weaponized? It is used conveniently.
That could be true. That could be true in the Kenyan context. However, all I'm saying is this, my friend. Normally, I'm not one guy to comment on rumors and on theories. But when a document has been tabled in Parliament, the National Assembly, and has been subjected to public participation, I'm not saying that document is entirely correct. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm saying that we should give natural justice or the justice system and those two houses time to let us know that it was wrong and absolve him of the wrongdoings, or that the document is right and that it should be removed.
Do you even believe in what you're saying right now?
I do.
So in terms of, there's a question of what wanasema priorities, it is in the interest, umesema, chances are, corruption, the fight against corruption, it could bite anyone.
Exactly.
So you are also admitting that removing Rigiji from office is political.
At the moment, I think it is.
Then don't you think it's a waste of the country's resources, right?
Yeah.
Instead of dealing with corruption in itself, then using the system to deal with individuals? Because you quote, Ati, if a document has been tabled in parliament, so now let parliament now deal with it and prosecute, right? Really?
Now, this is my take on this, fellow. I'm not saying that this document is entirely politicized. I'm also not saying otherwise. I'm just saying, right now we have a document on the table. Okay? Why don't we give time so that most of us, or all of us, and the stakeholders that are responsible, why don't we give them time to know what needs to be done? And then we'll know from there that, hey, this document was more politicized or just everywhere, and that there was no much on it. And do you know what I believe where I sit here? I believe that most of the accusations that were put on that document, I'm entirely not convinced that they would warrant removal of a deputy president. However, I also think, like I started by saying, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, at a personal level, has done a lot to dig his own grave.
I know.
I'm just here trying to think that if it was not Rigathi Gachagua on the chopping board at the moment, would it still have gone through? I don't think it would. I just think it's going through because it's
Rigathi Gachagua. But then, this begs the question, right?
Yeah.
Sawa, we know.
Yeah.
We know, I know Rigiji has dug his own grave. And I'll say this, one of the things, hiyo kitu ya ati, what do we call it? Ati shareholders. I take offense in that because I know how much money yangu directly inaenda kwa taxation.
Okay.
So, and other people pia. People know the pain of the amount of money, ama how taxation reduces your journey of wealth creation. I know that. Okay? So, and contribution to government, we all contribute, and by default.
Yeah.
So unless you say that the shareholders, they want to contribute to taxation, well and good. That for me is one of Rigiji's greatest undoing, in my opinion.
Okay.
But still, I still believe in terms of corruption cases, when we accept that, okay, now Rigiji is on the chopping board, now conveniently, it's a waste of time.
No, I think I'm with you on that part. Not entirely though. I think also that the fact that Rigiji mentioned the shareholder thing, I tend to think that people also took that statement so much out of context. And people must also understand that around the same time that Rigiji made that statement, we were still in the political frenzy where people have just come out of an election. However, I'm just faulting him on the fact that he needs to be and should be his office, by virtue of his office, it should represent a national face. And that's why I started by telling you that what I would have anticipated was that he would, immediately after the elections were over, he would have taken much running around and galvanizing the country, bringing them together. Because right now, this country has always suffered from ethnic lines.
And that's a story for another day. But then you have very radical points in politics. Number one, you see no problem with Azimio leader Raila Odinga joining hands with the president, who was his opponent in the past election. And people died fighting for Raila's dream to be president.
Yeah.
And then now they are working together. You see no problem with that?
No, I don't see a problem with that. And I will explain myself. Let me give up this analogy though casually. There is the general belief, and I also strongly believe the same, that when you have a house and you love a clean house, okay, but you are the only person who is tasked to doing the mopping, doing the cleaning. Okay? While say 2-3 other guys that stay in this house, their only work is to ensure that it's dirty. Simply because probably they want to punish you or they just enjoy you doing the cleaning. Okay? There reaches a point when as a human being you're tired and you're like, okay, the majority in this house are decided that that's in the direction they want to go. So decide, okay, let's all stay in a dirty house. Then they start faulting you that no. Yes, we admit that we have made the house dirty, but you should do the cleaning. I think that's very unfair. That's very unfair. Kenyans decided, and by Kenyans I mean majority, that they would elect the president, William Ruto, and Rigathi Gachagua, against a ballot that Ruto had on the Raila Odinga, among others. Okay? And this is something that has happened 2 or 3 times. When you looked at how the voting was done or even the voting procedure, you'll see that majority don't vote because they believe in the people they were voting. They're just voting because they wanted to prove that we can't vote for so-and-so. And also, to a lesser extent, I also think that majority always vote in that line because they think there are people who will come up and do the cleaning should they mess.
Okay.
So the people who are supposed to do the cleaning sat down this time round and decided that, no, I think we've done enough of the cleaning. Now, if they want us to stay in this house, that is where we are going to stay. We are done staying out on the rain because the house is dirty. So we will just join the dirty house and not get rained on. And now that is the problem we have. People now think, oh, Raila is a traitor. Who did he betray? The people who feel Raila betrayed them are not his supporters. That's the truth.
You know, when you say at a majority of the people who disagree with Raila are not his supporters, I'll introduce you to something. I'll share my thought on something.
Okay.
The human mind is very powerful.
Okay.
You can tailor-make your explanation to fit the narrative that you want.
Okay.
To confirm what you believe.
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
When you say a majority of the people who are against Baba for working with government now are his supporters, don't you think there's a section of his supporters who feel betrayed that, hey, Niaje, you whipped up our emotions, we were involved, this was, the past election was an emotionally intense moment for us. You told us this, that about this administration, right? And now you're working with it. Does that mean that you negated from the concept of having principles? Like, I'm a man of my word, I stand by this.
Now you brought in a very interesting perspective. A perspective I've always wanted to address. And I want to address the few of Raila supporters who may feel betrayed. As you say, you realize that this nation has a very skewed kind of development records. There are certain parts that are way more developed than the others. That's one. 2, this nation has always been polarized after every election. The reason has been that the opposition, led by Raila Odinga, has been, let me say, a no-nonsense type that is not willing to engage on any discussion. This trend went until the handshake, the famous handshake, the other day. And I can confirm to you that the handshake benefited certain regions, especially regions that were thoroughly underserved in the previous governments. Okay? I'll give you a good example, Rangwe constituency. If you look at some of the small development projects in terms of the roads that have been, most of them were done in or around the handshake. Okay? This also showed one thing. In and around the handshake, there was a lot of peace. And peace brings a lot of other good things. When there is peace, people can do business everywhere without getting worried. There is no such thing as a Makikuyu, a Luo, a Luya, a whatever. You will just go anywhere and do your business. When there is no peace, when the opposition has been divided, and all of us knows this, over the years, there has always been fear of this doing this business here, or this going to work there. We were here when a section of leaders went to a university and demanded that they don't want whoever the vice chancellor in that university at the time was,
It was
they
one
wanted,
university.
yes, they wanted their man. These are some of the things that are being solved by these two leaders working together.
Are you saying that before the handshake, people of Rangwe constituency were not paying taxes?
They were.
Didn't they deserve the so-called developments that came after the handshake?
I really believe they did.
So instead of lying to ourselves as a nation that paying taxes and being upright citizens guarantees you benefits nationwide, si we just say basi yo kitu ya kugawana, you get.
Well, what I'm trying to point out is that when the opposition and the government, let me narrow it down to when Mheshimiwa Raila and Honorable William Ruto are working together, or Mheshimiwa Raila and former President Uhuru Kenyatta were working together.
Yes.
We were able to see certain changes.
Yes.
Not just in terms of development, but even in terms of the national peace and cohesion.
Yes.
Okay? So all I'm trying to say is, while everyone is paying taxes, and tax has to be paid for things to happen, the reality on the ground, there's what we want to happen or what we expect to happen versus what is happening. Okay?
Yes.
Based on what had been happening up until the handshake, while everyone was paying taxes, and there was small development that were not, well, let's call them negligible to certain areas. I mean, when these two groups of people joined together, we saw a bit of those changes. So while I don't want to take my time worrying about the negativities of what had happened before, I'm just happy that right now there is a lot of peace. The nation is not that tag of you are a Kikuyu, he's a Luo, he's a lawyer, you are a Kalenjin and all that seems to go down, which is what we are looking at.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So one thing, and I stand by this, Kenyans are not tribal. It's the game of resources that divides people.
True.
The game of resources divides people from the point of when you've been made to feel that when your person is there, you'll get a piece of the national cake, right? So let's say, for example, when Baba and the Ruto are working together, the president, it means that you feel like there is something that will trickle down to you, right? And Rigiji now, the difference is the reason why he does not want another entity to come is because he feels like the piece of the cake he's entitled to will be beaten kidogo.
To cater for the rest.
To cater for the rest. Exactly. Sindio? So there's nothing like tribalism. It's just a balance of resources. Ukweli wongo.
Well, on the book and on the clean side, that's correct. But on the ground and the architectural design, the political architectural design of our country, we have to accept things the way they are and try to change those that we can.
Don, we'll come back to this conversation.
Okay.
The political landscape of the country seems to be changing.
Correct.
This movement of young people getting woke, people discussing policy like never before, is something new. People engaging with what's going on in parliament, what bills are being passed, is progress, right?
Correct.
You don't foresee a situation where there will be a radical movement in, say, the Gen Z movement. People come out. Majority of the population in this country are the youth. They come out and vote out the whole lot that is there and then install other people who are more progressive and probably see things different.
I really wish for a time like that to happen. Okay?
Not 2027.
Not 2027. It's not happening in 2027. And I can tell you the reason. Right now, there have been figureheads of young people who have come out to try to lead this movement, the Gen Z movement that you're saying. Of course, the Gen Z, they're trying to effect change. The protests that were there did amount to something. But right now, there are a few figureheads that have always come, and I think you know who, when, what, and why.
Are you afraid to mention
these individuals? A good example is Morara Kipaso. Another example is Kasmuel Makoure. Unfortunately, these young people have also just proven to be nothing different.
How so?
They are nothing different. Right now, there's a lot of accusations of them playing underhands, and you can see those pictures online. It would be extremely extremely, I'd say, I'm a bit disappointed in the way this thing has moved. However, it has not. A couple of months ago, when the new was starting, I knew it would go the direction it's going right now. Just that I didn't know it would be such soon.
No, number one, I credit Morara Kebaso for starting a very important conversation.
I do too.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like, people are, in fact, I hope the net effect, the effect of people exposing false projects continues.
That's true.
Right? And then it goes to the level of accountability. Right?
Yeah.
Why don't you believe that Kenyans can come out in large numbers and change the system?
Up until Kenyans come out in large numbers and change the system, they have not.
But it starts, a conversation starts
Exactly.
like now.
It did start. All I love about Kenyans and Gen Z is that they most of the genuine part of the population who wanted real change are able now to see the exact underhand dealings that are going on with the so-called figureheads that are leading them. You understand? If the majority, and the term is if, the majority of young people decides that we want to go a certain direction, and I appreciate they made it, they called it leaderless. If they decide to go that direction, then we may see change.
We may see change.
And we may see change. But up until that time, we are still just having same people, conmen, underhand dealers, masquerading as leaders. And in the end, the difference between them and the others at the top is the age.
Them and the difference is the age.
Yeah. Because
why would you arrive to that at that conclusion?
Because
how do you arrive at that?
Most of the ones we are trying to kick out of office, we are kicking them out because they are under dealers. The dealers masquerading as leaders. But if you are a young person, okay, who is also a dealer masquerading as a leader, what then is the difference? There's no difference.
How?
The difference is person A is 70 years of age and we want him out, and you are 30. It's that. But we are trying to go down with a movement, or to a movement where we are led by people who are not into wanting it real quick. That is what we're seeing with this.
You think they want it real quick?
I'm seeing people who capitalized on a genuine movement and are now making a hit out of it.
So what happened to the movement, in your opinion?
The movement is still, I'd say it's quiet. Just not now as effective as it was supposed to be.
Okay.
If, and I mean if, it wakes up again, leaderless, focused, it could get results.
Human beings cannot function leaderless. I'll take you back to, you saw what happened to Morara Kebaso at Bomas, right?
Yes.
He was attacked.
Okay.
Can you separate Kenyan politics from violence? And in this case, people place it in the doorstep of ODM.
Okay. Let me first, you asked me two questions that are attached to one. So I want to answer them step by step. You've asked me if we can detach violence versus the Kenyan politics.
Mm-hmm.
We can't at the moment, because that is what has always been there. I'm not justifying it. I'm just telling you what has been happening. But I want also to bring it to this end. This is my belief about what happened specifically to Morara Kebaso. I would advise anybody and every young person, if you decide to go a certain path, you need to know that consequences will be there. One, you need to take care of your own security at a personal level. It's not just here in Kenya. Even in the US, the other day we saw Honorable Trump being shot at. So it's not like this is a Kenyan thing. It's a global political trend. And while I'm not justifying it, I'm just telling you statistics that are there. Okay? Morara ought to have known, and I believe that he's smart enough to have known that such a thing had a possibility of happening. I also want you to not rule out the fact that it could have also had been planned. And I also need you to know that when there is a general belief that this thing is with and pro and past ODM, I mean, already that is a recipe for someone else to do it and let ODM take the hit.
There is video evidence of TJ Kajwang calling out people to deal with the Morara.
Okay.
So there is no way this can fall. I know the theories, how theories work.
Exactly.
There is no way Morara planned to be attacked, if that's where you're heading.
Could be true. But I also want you to know that I'm not defending TJ Kajwang. I'm not defending ODM in any way. I'm just telling you that if TJ Kajwang did that, there is also a possibility that that was his behavior and habit at a personal level, not on ODM's behest. I'm not defending ODM. I'm just saying if that is what happened. But again, I'm coming back to tell you that Morara Kebaso would have known and should know that he has enemies. Those enemies could be ODM, could be the government, could be UDA, could be anybody. Okay? Because definitely he's touching on interests. Okay? So such a thing can happen. I'm just saying that we need a society where it is not happening. We just don't have that society at the moment.
So, can you separate violence from politics in Kenya? Because in the same Bomas, I've seen a video of how Mathare MP logged in. Now they crossed Mbasa na mapolisi when wamewekwa kwa mlango. Like, is it possible? Can you survive outside? Okay, tell us, because you are an operator, unajua. How do goons work?
What type of goons?
Okay.
There are several aspects of this.
Okay, tell us. Let's start with the types of goons.
Call them wise men for lack of...
Wise men is a polite name for goons.
Yeah.
Let's just use goons for purposes, but we know it's wise men. But to understand the types of goons, before we go to how it works.
you can separate goonship from politics.
Yes, but start with the types of goons. You've said there's different levels and types.
Yeah.
Breaking down for us.
I want to break it down for you. One, somebody who is not doing anything, is just let's call them goon for hire. You can hire him to do it. It's just business. They don't have any problem with you. They can just harm you just for the fact that they were paid to do it. Okay?
Can I talk to them if a goon has been hired to pay me and they've been paid 500?
Yeah.
Before, can we negotiate?
Normally that happens.
Can I beat the price?
Several people does that.
Also, I can...
If you have another information, you just call them and tell them, now that I know that you are paid this certain amount. Let me do a different business with you. I'm not saying that anything to do with violence or bullshit is good. I'm just saying that politics has a way in which it's being played.
Yes. So now
this is across the globe. We just trying to bring it to Kenya, but politics has a way of being played.
Sasa wewe uko na information ya how it operates in Kenya. Sidio? We are not saying you support violence, but as a person, in fact, my interest with you on this show is because you know, right? So enlighten us. I want to understand, because you have mapped these people, right? You are a person who consumes information, right?
Yeah.
How does it work? You started, umeanza vizuri sana. There is someone who is just idle, that is job group G, sindio? Like goons for hire.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, let's narrow it down to bombers. You need to know that some of these goons, okay, they also rise into ranks up to the top. Because let me tell you, just like any other hitman on the street or whatever kind of a job someone does, today you are paid 500 shillings. Tomorrow someone hires to pay you $1 million. The next day say they pay you another 5 million. You know you're rising. Have some money. In the end, these people ends up in position of leadership. Okay? And I wanted to understand one thing. Goonship or violence is also mental. And you know that it is also it's sort of a mental health issue. So when these people rises to whatever sort of positions in society, they don't rise because they don't get elected for whatever reason that they are so good and all that. They get elected because now they have what it takes to be elected, which is some money and social influence. You get me? Then when they end up in whatever offices they end up in, they don't stop being goons because they're in those offices. They are goons, just that now they are goons in suits. Okay? So yeah, when this was the first time we are seeing elected leaders throwing tantrums, throwing punches and all that. These guys, and I want to challenge you today. I want you to go and look at the backgrounds of these individuals. You can map them out. Okay? Leaders, I'm categorical on leaders. I want you to go and check back on them and see where did they come from. Could be from the campus politics. Who were they in campus politics? When they got in there, where did they go? How did they? You will realize that somebody just doesn't wake up one morning and become a goon and start throwing stools at Murara Kebaso. Okay? This person has been throwing punches and chairs and all that for years.
Is that how we arrive at the kind of leadership we have? Because I'm looking at a situation where you have to vie fair and square against someone who has a monopoly of violence. Can you win fairly?
You can win, just not fairly. There is no winning fairly.
You cannot win fairly.
Fairly is now the wrong term. But winning, you can win. Yeah. What I'm saying is, in a nutshell, when you decide to get into murky waters, okay, you must try to match the murkiness of the water. If your opponent is a goon, you got no choice but to match that level of goonship.
You build capacity.
Exactly.
There's nothing like niaje.
And like
you want to change.
I can borrow a small leaf from the Sonu politics of the past.
Yes.
I wanted to check those leaders, those who are the forefronters of the Sonu politics of the years. These groups of individuals, right until today, have maintained their aura they were having in campus. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Whether it was monopoly of information, monopoly of violence, monopoly of whatever, those things don't leave them. And when they come out here, it's even worse because in campus they were dealing with elites. Out here they're dealing with a mixture. Majority of who are not elites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with that kind of a population, what do? You manipulate them easily. And that's why I say by telling you that most of the goons, you will rarely get someone who is on doing something constructive, getting himself, putting himself at the disposal of anybody else to become a good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So goonship is also, we can also narrow it down to supply of goons is concurrent to unemployment.
True.
So goonship is also a job opportunity, like.
True. 100%.
Okay. So now we go back to, do we now accept that that's the nature of how leadership is? Does this describe the kind of leadership we have? Because to get good people to be in positions of power is not possible. Is that your?
I think getting good people to position of power is possible when people decide. We just mentioned the Gen Z protests and the kinds of change that those movements are trying to effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not possible to get good leaders in office. I'm just afraid that majority of Kenyans lack the ethical conviction to do the right thing.
You don't think Murara Kebaso can be president?
He can't be.
If Kenyans, in 2027, if Kenyans decide that, by the way, we are tired of this, because people are tired of the leadership that we have right now, right? Because it's games, and people can see through that. This is an age of information. You don't see a situation where he just becomes president. And if that happens, how much change do you think that affects?
I don't know if I need to lie to you or tell you the truth. First, to tell you the truth, I don't just see a situation where Murara Kebaso becomes the president in 2027. He can become president, just not in 2027.
Why?
I don't see it happening.
Why?
The timeline is too small. And even if Murara Kebaso was, for some reason, just becomes the president, the change he would effect is very little. Very little, if any.
Why?
Because today, and I'll again return you back to the architectural design of our politics and our society today.
Mm-hmm.
One, you need to accept the reality that draining the swamp. And this also leads me to something that is now a bit of contention that I was trying to dodge talking about, the presidential term limit. The timeline for effecting any meaningful change and also playing politics at the same time is too small.
5 years.
Yeah, it's too small.
So when you are vying for president, you don't know that you only have 5 years.
And I want to give you a very good example. President Kibaki is regarded to have been the best president Kenya has ever had. I believe so. It was because for his initial 5 years, he dedicated it to work only and not politics. And that led us to where we were in 2007. Most people don't think that is also part of the reason. Kibaki was not playing politics. So he never shifted people's opinion. People just concentrated on Kibaki's work until the elections arrived. And Kibaki realized that, I ought to have also been playing some politics. When he came back now to the political scene, the timeline was too small. All his distracted had gathered together. Okay? All his opponents had gathered together in one house. He was on the other end, plus all the rest on one end. If you can remember, 42 against 1. Okay? Now, Kibaki was pushed to a corner. Now, he's been doing the right thing. Okay? But then now, so what? They're kicking him out. Definitely they're kicking him out. There's just no other way around it. You all know what ended up with that. So the subsequent leaders learned one thing from this. Okay? That you need to do some work, and spend the majority of your time politicking. so that you are not caught up on.
I hate to agree with that analogy because President Ruto spent his time doing politics.
The past 2 years, the president.
No, as deputy president,
Yeah.
he spent from 2017 after second term, he was all politics. President Uhuru said, wacha sisi to focus na kazi.
Yeah.
What does that say about Kenyans?
That says, Kenyans, again, we are divided into two. Always, all the time. We are always pro this and anti this. While this group is pro this and anti this. All the time. There is, more often than not, there is even no problem between Christian man.
Yes.
There's no problem. We don't even know how we ended up there. We just ended up on the groupings. Okay?
Yes.
That is why between President Uhuru and William Ruto, there was a sharp divide between people who were doing some work and people who were doing politics. Both of them were right. You know what? Because at the end of the day, William Ruto gets elected and Uhuru Kenyatta delivers a few things on what? So you get the divide. Right now, there is nothing going on in the current government because they are all on the same side. They're all not doing any work.
Yes.
Unaona? Rigathi is running, the deputy president is running around, spewing hate, telling people how the country, how the nation of cake is belong to a certain members of a certain company and all that. The president, on the other hand, is also busy running around launching projects that are not there. So at the end of the day, they are not working, but they're doing the right thing on one end, which is
Politicking.
their minds is on 2027.
And
They don't want to find themselves where Kibaki found himself.
So what you're saying is Kenyan politics is not about development.
No, it should be about development. And whenever elections are done,
Yes.
people think that is what they're doing. They just don't know that the current politics is designed in a way that there has to be politics going on and there should be development. There has to be politics going on, but there should also be development.
Are you saying you cannot deliver on your political promise and also do politics?
As it did, it looks increasingly unlikely. Okay? Because whenever you're politicking, it comes with a lot of distraction. It comes with a lot of distractions whenever you're politicking. Especially in the current age where there's a lot of scrutiny. Anything you say today is not forgotten. I want you to understand that President Moi did not much in 24 years. But part of the reason he didn't do much was also was that no one could hold him much accountable because there was no structures aside from the judiciary to hold anybody accountable. Today, social media has made it clear that if you say this, 15 days from today, we can just get it. That, oh, bro, this is you saying this. So that is why President Ruto's failures are being magnified.
So President Ruto became president at the wrong time.
Yeah.
For the kind of politics this country has
He's
enjoyed.
a good man. I think he's a good man. He's brave. I like his brand of politics. I just don't agree with the fact that he lacks that ethical conviction.
Ethical conviction.
Yeah. Because the president seems so obsessed with the things Kenyans don't want. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Because anybody would just tell the president that, hey, Kenyans don't want this thing to do with Adani. So kindly ask Adani to go and do the investment somewhere. And we look for someone else to do the investment here.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
I have a theory, and tell me if this fits the nini. And I've shared this with friends, actually, today. That my suspicion is, and correct me if my theory is going in the right direction, for 2022 election, winning was a do or die for President Ruto. So it was survival. Because had he lost, chances are the system would have gone after him because they were going after him even as deputy president, okay? So winning the election meant him protecting himself and what he has created and what he has built over time. Sindio?
Yeah.
Now, being a do or die, he probably had to make a deal with the devil over and over again, and more than one devil, okay? And after him winning, the devil has to come collect his dues. And things like the Adani deal, I'm inclined to believe that those are not things that have happened now. I think those are deals that had been done before, probably to secure campaign financing, probably to secure the necessary support needed to get into office, right?
Yeah.
So now I think someone like President Ruto is caught between, right, executing the deal, as in delivering on the mandate, okay?
Yeah.
Versus delivering on the commitments he may have made to get office. Do you think my theory holds water?
Yeah. That seems to be what is happening at the moment. I'm just, like I said, President Ruto is one guy that at a personal level, I think I really like him. I like the politics he plays. The part that I seem not to be in tandem with the ethical part. And I still repeat, all he is missing, if we correct, the fact that he lacks ethical conviction. When the president had made underhand deals with Adani and all that kind of group before,
yes,
he can easily let them know that the public today does not want anything to do with you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I also think that the people who are helping the president do his mandate are not. I think they seem to either be sabotaging him or just keeping key information away from him, or simply is not willing to listen. Some of his advisors could have easily just had tea with him to tell him that now we are fixed with this story of Adani. The majority of Kenyans don't want anything to do with Adani. Why don't you sit down with them again and come up with a new deal?
What if they ate the money already? What if they ate his money?
The Adani,
if you are Adani,
yeah.
Let me be the devil's advocate hapa kidogo. If you are Adani and they chewed your money, knowing that this deal will go through and Kenyans will not pay attention, itaenda chini ya maji, Kenyans will focus on the rent.
I started by telling you that to politicians, there are two groups of people. You can't be used or you are an enemy. And then you need to be told the truth that, hey, man, we ate your money. Yeah. So it's either you give us time to repay you back or kaende.
Okay.
And I feel that is the correct thing that needs to happen.
I don't. There's nothing like fence sitting, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure, okay, you now like President Ruto. You like his brand of politics.
Yes.
Let me ask you a radical question.
Yeah.
Did you support him in the 2022 elections?
No.
You didn't?
I didn't.
So you were in the opposite camp?
No.
You did not support Raila either?
No. I actually worked for the ABC in that election.
So you did not support Raila, you did not support Ruto
No, I didn't.
in that election?
Yes.
So you are not a person who supported Raila, but now that Raila supports Ruto, you have changed, you're following Raila to support.
That is also not true. What is true is I've looked at why would Raila
Yes.
decide to support or to work with William Ruto. What are the pros and what are the cons? And I saw that the pros have outweighed the cons, so I think it's a good thing.
How forgiving is Raila that in a span of 2 years, she's done it twice.
No, Felix, you're wrong. This is politics. There are no forgiveness, and there are no enemies, and no. It's all about interest, bro. You think Raila is working with William Ruto because they're buddies? Nigga, those guys are not buddies, man.
They are not friends.
They are not friends. They are two gentlemen having shared interest at the moment.
So wanaweza anza tu kulimana.
Exactly.
Baba akianguka,
should their interests collide?
Okay.
And I don't want you to ask me questions on this, but I want you to know, two warring dogs often become allies whenever the wolf appears.
Two warring dogs always become allies
whenever the wolf appears. I wish you now know why there's a wolf on the chopping board. Next, let's go on.
Okay, I thought the wolf was Gen Z was going to decimate the political class, but now you changed me.
And there could have been that Gen Z was having a godfather.
People refuse to believe that, especially on Twitter, because
and I also want you to notice. I liked the fact that you chose X as the platform. I want you to understand that X has a level-head people, elites. No, X is one platform that doesn't carry a majority of who, when, what, and how. It has elites, and elites always reason, and elite can see between lines. But I'm telling you that for the majority and for the agencies that are involved, you never know. Jesus could have just had a godfather.
No, for the most part, I know most people will disagree with you, especially
I also believe that most people will disagree with me.
Because most people went to the street.
Just that a random human being would also maybe think that buying a single coffin, for example, is about 40,000. And that when you decide to buy, when 10 or 20 of them just shows up on the street, you also know that they were not robbed. There's nobody who came out claiming that, hey, my coffins were stolen. Then that means they were bought.
No, you're talking about
I'm just giving you a particular example. There could have been many. I'm just telling you, there could have been.
Okay, sawa. In terms of political operation, you're very familiar with the game, and I want you to usitupigie story nusu, right? A journalist, a blogger in Mombasa gets sodomized, right?
Yeah.
Because he insulted the governor's mother, and then the governor allegedly set out a team. Yeah, when I heard that story, I was like, hey, manzi, kwani kanjua Mombasa wanatumia rungu gani? What is the rungu ya issue? Standard issue ya Mombasa, because county government officials are suspected to have been the ones who carried out the operation. You said something very radical, and that's partly why we are having this conversation. You said, I know you do not condone any form of violence, but you said you understand why that guy, and he was pedided. How can you understand? How does that form?
No, I would have wanted that this becomes a whole discussion on its own. But for purposes of this discussion, I want to be very candid with you. First of all, when the news or the videos came out that this guy had been sodomized, and I want to take this chance first to condemn whatever happened to him. That a human being cannot go all that. But I want now to come back to what I would wish to put to the public. Number one, if you decide today that you want problems, like they always say, I want violence. The people out there will give you violence. Okay? For Bruce, and he's somebody I know, grew up together somewhere in Mombasa.
You know Bruce?
Yeah. I'm sad that that happened to him. And before I knew the reasons that happened to him, I really sympathized with him. But when I got grasp of the kind of verbal abuse that he meted at the governor's mother, Mrs. Sheriff Nasir, I was very disappointed. I mean, as a young person, okay? Leave the governor aside first. The governor is not as old as his mom. But I want you to understand certain aspects here that most people don't see. Mrs. Sheriff Nasir has been more of a symbol in the coastal belt for years. Remember that the late Sheriff Nasir was like a galvanizing figure along the coastal belt, not just Mombasa. Okay? When a young person would come out to make that kind of an abuse on the old woman, very sad. I also want you I want us to see this from this perspective too, that Governor Abdul Swamad, and I'm not saying he's not involved in whatever happened to Bruce. I'm just saying that Governor Abdul Swamad has got a lot of political enemies, okay, that could easily have orchestrated what happened to Bruce without even his knowledge or without his approval. However, it could also have happened with his approval if that is what the authorities investigating it finds out. But I would wish to point this to young people. Politics has two groups of people, one that is being used and an enemy. You need to know at a particular time that you are being used. The office of the women rep has come out to distance themselves from such kind of abuses that the young guy met on the governor and his family. It then leaves you wondering, who hired him?
So, quick one. I hope the authorities investigate and get to the bottom of that matter.
I do so.
But then the guy himself, the victim,
yes.
Okay, again, not to go by his account alone, but he says after they chewed him, they called the governor for a top up.
Okay.
For lunch. Ama he sent 10K for lunch.
Yeah.
So the authorities may investigate and find the governor has access to authorities.
Yes.
Immediately after they got reports, which by the way is very shameful for the guy to insult the governor's mother. The governor has the power as a Kenyan to report this through the authorities, and the authorities, even Kenyans, the supporters, okay, not to say people should take the law into their own hands, but Bruce himself would have been reported to the authorities, and I believe this matter would have been followed up.
Okay. I also want you to notice that, and I've just seen some text sent to my phone before I came here for this specific discussion of the Mombasa thing. I realized from the information I've got here, I have not verified it. I'll go and verify it later, that Bruce has been abusing the governor for quite some time now.
And the governor has done nothing.
The governor has done nothing. He's a politician.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
As a politician, when you keep getting abuses, you always tend to think that they are just distracted towards stopping you from doing whatever you need to do. Okay? And especially if they are not on your personal, I mean, if they are not personal, they're just on your personality. Someone will say, you are not learned, you are not doing your work correctly. Mm-hmm. You know, you let it go. Okay. It's not that serious, just you getting distracted. Mm-hmm. However, when it goes personal, maybe it goes to adultery in your family, all that, it may go to a second level. That is, if the governor was involved. I also want to tell you how politics works today, okay? If I want to get person B, all I'll simply do is make a call with his name. When you are the victim here, hey Felix, I've done what I was supposed to do. Send me my money. What does the victim say? It was Felix because it was Goldman House there. Mm-hmm. There was no point of verifying. Whenever you are being chased by a lion, you cannot stop to confirm if the lion is male or female. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you're a victim, you don't confirm that, hey, wait first, the sodomizer. Give me a minute. Let me confirm if that is the governor's name. You don't. But they could just have played that card. And these are things that
So
happen.
political operators are such great script writers that they have mastered the art of make-believe.
Oh, no, you don't understand this. We've seen these things. There was a time here that a specific politician, I can't mention names right now, was accused of murdering so-and-so. I don't know. The authorities investigated this one. I don't know if it is still under investigation.
Hear the story. If it's been investigated,
The
tell us the facts.
accusations, the accusations was that somebody murdered Jacob Juma. Okay, a very specific case, for example. Then we were having this discussion with some friends just over coffee, and we're like, now, Jacob Juma has always gone mentioning President William Ruto as the guy following him. You know, how stupid will William Ruto just decide to murder him? It definitely takes the hit. But a third party who also has a problem with this guy would just... Why? Because he knows that so-and-so is going to take the hit. That is how politics goes. Bruce has been abusing Abdul Samad for the longest now. Okay? Do you think that Abdul Samad would be that unwise to simply hire goons here to sodomize the boy here, and still those goons calls Abdul Samad, where just next to the victim, that, hello, please sell us money.
If I'm not wrong, Abdul Samad governor is also on record promising to deal with someone who fits the description of Bruce thoroughly.
Well, like I said, that could have been a possibility, that it was Abdul Samad who did it. I'm just saying that there is also a better and a bigger possibility that he's not the one.
How do you get to the point of deciding that this is a punishment? What is this meant to achieve?
Normally in politics, every punishment that is meted is V-shaped. It's supposed to hit you at the same time, hit a potential person that has same habits like yours. If they just wanted, for example, to met the punishment on the victim, they would simply do it. But they decided to take a video. Do you know why? To hit the mental status of this another person who may also have been thinking like this one. When you see what happened to person B, are you still gonna go that direction?
So, making a punishment public
is called sending a message. You're sending a message that jokes will not be condoned. And people with the similar habits will be dealt with ruthlessly.
Aha. And that's the nature of our politics.
That is the nature of global politics. And I gave you a good example of the US that is termed as the country where there's democracy. A bullet just passed by former President Donald Trump's ear the other day.
So now, we are where we are, right?
Yeah.
Rigathi Gachagua impeachment motion inaingia, sindio?
Yeah.
As he gets impeached, right? Do you think there's anything he can do to stop it?
At the moment, no, I don't think. I don't think.
The knowledge of the level that you have access.
Look, I think there's something he can do, and definitely has done it. But take it from how I see it, he's not going to get impeached. So what's to get impeached?
You don't think he's going to get impeached?
No, I don't think.
What do you think is the strategy here?
Just two things. One is to distract Kenyans away from all the other things that have been going on, including Adani and all the theft going on. But now, on regard, it's just sending him a message that, yes, we have what it takes.
Just sending a message?
Yes.
So, if they don't impeach him, what does the working relationship look like?
I want you to understand that if Rigathi has to be impeached or is impeached, it most likely it's not President William Ruto's directive. It's the powers that be, other players that have what it takes. And if those players had decided that, yes, we need him out, he'll be out. There's nothing, 100% that he can do.
Let's take it back kidogo. Why wouldn't President Uhuru impeach President William Ruto when he was his deputy?
The circumstances were totally different. Okay? First, I want you to understand the political gimmicks here. William Ruto had his own personal constituency. Do you know why Raila has been Raila for the years? He has his own personal constituency.
So Rigathi Gachagua is for trying to create his own constituency.
No, he's trying to create it late. And he's not going to create it. Kicking him out is very easy because he doesn't have a constituency of his own.
So President, as deputy, William Ruto impeached.
He had his own constituency. And that constituency was going to stand behind him full time. Raila Odinga has been Raila Odinga because he has his own constituency. Whether you go there at night, mchana, whatever at all the time, you will find him there. Okay? So unfortunately for the deputy president, he doesn't have his own constituency.
So the Murima he talks about, you don't think he's the senior most politician from the Mount Kenya region?
Senior most elected politician. That's the correct term. However, the Mulima has its own leaders. These are two different people. Senior most elected politician and leaders. Leaders may be elected or not. Actually, currently the ones who are leaders in Mount Kenya are not elected.
Are you saying that there are people who, I would like to understand this dynamic. There's someone who has a constituency. Okay, there's someone who is more powerful than the senior most elected leader.
Yeah.
Someone who can, and they don't hold any position.
Yes.
And they are as popular or even more popular than the elected leader.
Yes.
How does that work?
That is how it works. They have built their constituency over the years. A good example is Maina Njenga, for example. Maina Njenga can go to Nakuru, the stadium today, and call for a meeting, and the stadium will be full. Uhuru Kenyatta is not elected at the moment, though I would use him, but he has been elected before. Those two people still are top leaders in Mount Kenya. They're still top leaders. If Uhuru Kenyatta was to wake up tomorrow morning and say, hey, let's have a meeting in Murang, more than half of Mount Kenya.
That has changed because Uhuru Kenyatta as president tried to whip up Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
But I think that statement may neither be here nor there because as president, Mount Kenya did not listen to Uhuru Kenyatta. Unless you tell me they may listen to him now under the circumstances, because Rigathi Gachagua, in this statement, he said that he feels like he's a spent cartridge because it looks like he was just used to fight Uhuru Kenyatta, which you can argue that he fought and succeeded.
Yeah. Now, this is how it goes. Well, the fact that I mentioned Uhuru as the leader in Mount Kenya, I intentionally left out the fact that he was president. Uhuru was the leader of Mount Kenya before he became president. I remember the late Michuki saying that the mountain would look at Uhuru. Okay?
Yes.
And at no point until now has it come out clear that Uhuru is no longer the leader. However, I want you to understand one thing. At the political level between 2018 until when the elections were done, I started by mentioning that President William Ruto had his own constituency. Okay? And a section of Mount Kenya envied his constituency, and as such, envied his way of leadership and joined him. But as always been with the Kikuyus, they do say that they can be rented but can't be bought. You now understand why they went and have now gone back. When they left, who did they leave? They left Uhuru. And where have they gone back to? Back to Uhuru. It's not because of William has messed them up. Because that is where they were supposed to be.
Why do I have the feeling that the mountain is in solidarity with Rigiji during his tribulations right now?
because Rigiji has tried whipping them, the emotions. And I think this is also something we need to talk about and make it clear that when a leader decides to violate whatever part of whether it is social standings or the constitution, they're doing it at a personal level. They're not doing it on behalf of the people. Okay? If today anybody decides to steal public funds, they are stealing it for they themselves and their family. They're not stealing on behalf of Mount Kenya.
That contradicts the concept of constituency that you said. If Raila does if you deal with Raila now, you in terms of constituency, the submission you made, you're dealing with his constituency.
Yes.
If you're dealing with President William Ruto, you're dealing with his constituency.
And I made it clear that, unfortunately, Rigiji does not have any constituency.
So there's a certain level that a leader reaches that is no longer an individual.
Yes.
So Rigiji has not reached.
He has not reached there. Rigiji was on record 2 days ago, I think, asking for forgiveness from Uhuru Kenyatta. Less than a week.
He asked for forgiveness from President William Ruto.
And from President Uhuru Kenyatta, he has gone there. I'm sure he has mentioned that more than once. Why? You know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows that those are the people who still don't want Kenya. He's not there just yet. Raila is never going to ask for anybody's permission or forgiveness in Nyanza. Not even at the coast. Not even in Northeastern. William Ruto is not going to ask for anybody's forgiveness in the Rift Valley. He's never.
So what is wrong?
Boiling down to is William Ruto has his own constituency. If push comes to shove, he'll go to the Rift Valley, to all those counties, and they steal the name. He's still the guy they look up to. Rigiji does not have that at the moment. He has never had it.
Do you think Morara Kebaso has the young generation constituency? Because I'm trying to go to what does it take to build your constituency?
Morara Kebaso is doing the right thing by on whatever he's doing, but he doesn't have young people following him all at the moment. For Raila and William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, I want to tell you how these guys build their constituencies. These guys build their constituencies, 1, by consistency. 2, societies are led by wealth and reputation. Every society is led by wealth and reputation. These 2 things. If you have them, charisma and all that will follow. Wealth and reputation will lead. Right at the moment, Morara Kebaso is doing a lot of fundraising, which is a very good strategy to begin with. But a lot of people are also coming to see it from through the lines that is not sincere and genuine in the fund he's collecting. That could be just interested in amassing as much as he can at the moment, capitalizing on the melee that is happening at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In America, people do run for elective positions through the support of public fundraising.
Correct.
I also believe Morara deserves credit in changing the narrative of political support, in financial support in politics, right? Mm. Because if it goes through, yes, it has worked for some people, John Paul Murigi, support from people, not Nani Toto, the MP, being supported by people. If Morara goes through and if we are able to change the narrative of people can actually contribute for you to get to run to office to sustain a campaign, I think that's a good conversation.
That is a very interesting conversation. Because I think I would love it. All I'm saying is, for you to go that direction, first, you need to stand for something. 2, you need to have, how do I put it? People who are following you, or people who are not following you, people who are just third parties, need to be able to see that you are genuine in your quest. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When people see you, and I love the fact that you mentioned these sober democracies like America, where somebody can just do public fundraisings and get to be elected. I appreciate and I hope that Kenya would reach there at some point. The difference is in these 2 societies. One is where you live. The other one is where you survive. Okay?
Uh-huh.
In Kenya, it's more of survival. So up until you're able to prove to people that you are genuine in your quest, then you just belong. I said it will just be you and the guy you are trying to move in office, different being you are younger than him in terms of age and numbers.
As a fellow young person,
Yes.
and I believe you don't, we are not Gen Z in terms of age, but as a fellow young person,
Yes.
If you have an option on the table, support the young movement that presents hope.
I'll support the young movement. Leave the option B. I'll definitely support the young movement.
You will.
Yeah.
But do you?
I've not, like I said, I've not been convinced that there is a lot of genuity in it.
What would it take to convince you?
First of all, there was the rumors that there was the Godfathers. I'm still letting the authorities investigate and bring it. Otherwise, that they were
Don't
not.
you know whether they are supported by Godfathers or not? Don't you know? Unless you don't want to say that on.
I think I don't think they were supported by Godfathers, but I think the movement was taken over by wolves. Yeah. The movement was taken over by wolves.
So how would, if assuming they were taken over by wolves, how? Okay, let me not buy that. Let me say the movement. If the movement was independent of wolves, you would support it.
Correct.
What makes you believe it was taken over by wolves?
Because we know the wolves in this country. Whenever they're supporting anything, it can never be genuine.
There are individuals who, if they support anything.
I'm telling you today, the individuals that if you see them on the camera saying, hey, I supported Gen Z, and just walk away. There's nothing in that. These are more of the cancers that have been affecting this society.
They may have been.
They just saw the Gen Z movement and they're like, oh no, this is a very good platform.
That may not necessarily mean that they have compromised the movement. It could probably someone wants to gain mileage from and something that is going on.
And then you look at them and you wonder, if you get William Ruto out and put B, you're wondering, what's the difference? This is even worse.
No, in this case, assuming, for example, in 2027, people vote for Morara and he continues the concept of accountability, of being answerable to the people.
I think I would like that.
But you don't see that happening.
I see it happening, just not in 2027.
Not in 2027?
Yeah.
Because of his age or because of the timeline?
A lot of things are conspiring against that kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Time is not correct. The architectural design, the political architectural design need to be redesigned, and the timeline is too short for that to happen.
Okay. Then, Basi, final question before we let you go. What do you think goes into Raila's interest that he would give up the disappointment of the accusations that his victory was stolen from him? As in, he's now working with someone who he accuses of stealing a victory from him. Like, wewe, nikikunyang'anya hii simu, nikikunyang'anya hii simu, but kuna kitu tunafaa kufanya na wewe, but unaweza itumia because there's something more you need. What do you think goes into this interest? In fact, no, that's not a better example. Would you work with me? Would you come to my wedding with your ex-wife?
That is a tough one, but I would come.
Don't.
A tough one, but I would come. Especially if it's politically related, because the game of politics is totally different from football and basketball. There are rules to be followed for those other games. But in politics, just guided by one thing: interests.
Interest seems like a polite word for greed.
No, I think greed is a small part of interests.
Interest is worse than greed.
It's not worse, but bigger.
It's bigger than greed. So bigger on the negative.
Sometimes on the positive.
Sometimes on the positive. So
a good example, I told you that if today, coming to your wedding, okay, let's say I have 50 people following me, okay? Next 50 people, I host them, they're my buddies. Then I sit down and think, if coming to your wedding with my ex, okay, it would hurt my pride and probably hit me mentally. But by coming there, my 50 people have got lunch, free lunch. And he said, instead of spending some money on buying lunch, let's go eat free lunch there. After all, there's nothing I can do about the fact that you're marrying my ex. You know that?
As in, ati sasa wewe,
Can there be...
utosheke na pilau na mimi nakula nini yako.
Ndo nakuuliza at the moment.
Yes.
I have to choose between coming to eat the pilau or simply not coming at all. Not coming at all does not stop the wedding, and does not stop you from meeting my ex.
So what you're benefiting by coming supersedes that I took something from.
No, it just gives me a small satisfaction, you know. But that is on a narrow end. On Raila's end, I want to pick it purely on him. Okay. First, I don't know if I need to go back to this, but I'd mention that two warring dogs often become allies when the wolf appears.
Yes.
Okay? And purely on Raila and William Ruto working, I see it from this end. You may also go and verify from other sources. Raila looked at it from the fact that he was not going to get William Ruto out of the seat. He had been elected democratically. There was nothing he was going to do to get William out of that seat within the 5-year period. That is legally.
And also you say, in your book, you talk about there's a difference between democratically elected and fairly elected.
I think all those things sums up to one thing: who was sworn in.
Sawa, endelea.
Well, Raila looked at it from, there was nothing that him or his supporters were going to do to get Ruto out of power within the initial 5 years. That was one. Two, a lot of other things were at stake. One of them is that the country was so polarized around the same time, with the deputy president also running around with these power sharing and takes and companies and shares. And
same script for after 2017.
Exactly. And also, politics was over. Okay? I mean, politics of election, I think that's the correct one. Politics of election was over. Politics was always going to go on. It's always going to go on. But the politics of election at the time was over. Now, Raila and his advisor sits and wonder, now, if we go working with this guy, what do we stand to gain at personal level? And what does the nation stand to gain as the country? The nation gains peace, because don't rule out Raila. Remember, he has almost 10 million following him. Don't rule out William Ruto. He has another 10 million following him. There's 20 million people. 20 million people is a good amount of people for doing business.
So Rigiji may have jumped too soon.
No, Rigiji got his calculations not correct, because his constituency was already taken. So he's doing two things.
So he's a lone ranger.
No, he's trying to wrestle it out of whoever has it, and that is not working towards him.
He's not trying now. He tried before the election.
No, he's trying.
He thought he got it.
No, it didn't. Because there was, I mentioned two people. I mentioned President William Ruto at the time and Raila Odinga. These are people that when you looked at their so-called constituencies, they voted or have been voting along very specific lines in more than 95% of them. Even at the time that the deputy president was trying to angle for the central Kenya constituency to be his own, a large majority still sided with Uhuru was at the time in Azimio. More than 20%. Okay? As opposed to those two other regions that sided with their people to the tune of 1995. You get me? And these things are numbers. And the moment that these are the 80% that had sided with the deputy president had woken up to realize that the electioneering period was over, they started wondering if he actually had what it took to meet the owner of those constituencies. And they didn't say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don. You say in Kenyan politics, there is no one who is holy. You can't win, or you can't proclaim Jesus publicly and privately and get to any political office, as politics is.
At the moment, no. All those who have tried it ended up with the shortest span in the political space.
You cannot survive.
No, it's tough. It's tough. Like on the mafian states, you're either gangster or a civilian. You can't be hapo katikati. If you are a civilian, you are a civilian completely. You have completely nothing to do with gangsterism. If you're a gangster, you're a gangster full time. You can't be a civilian and a gangster at the same time. You can't be in the church and into the Kenyan politics at the same time.
Not possible.
No.
Haya. Sawa, asante sana for your time. Thank you for dropping by.
Thank you.
Kwa hiyo yenye tumeongea, asante sana.
Okay.